Hi, this is Gary from Grandpa's Best, and yesterday I did a short little video showing you what spatchcocking was. Now, it's really a very simple thing. Basically what you're doing is you're going through and you're taking the spine out of the bird so that you can flatten it and then cook it. Now, once you do that, there's lots of different things you can do with cooking it. A lot of times I do it out on the grill. Today it's about 45 degrees and it's pouring, so that's not in my plans for today. Instead, I decided to do it in a pan here on the stove. So I've got a cast iron skillet, and I've got the bird going right now. It's under a medium-high heat, and let me just show you, if I can lift this up here. It's getting nice and brown right now. I'm going to cook this for probably around 8 minutes or so. And once it's nice and brown and it's ready to go, and again, you can see how it's laying nice and flat there. I will be ready to go ahead and flip it. I'm going to show you what I do then in just a couple of minutes after that's ready. But in the meantime, I just wanted to explain a little bit about what I did in preparation. So it brined for about 12 hours. Anywhere in that vicinity is fine, hit or miss, whatever you feel like. If I do a full turkey, simply because of the size, I usually do more like 24 to 48 hours. But in this case, the 12 is perfectly fine. So I took the bird out, I patted it dry, I then put it on a cutting board, and I took and made a compound butter. Now the compound butter was composed of, obviously, softened butter. It had chopped up fresh rosemary, and it had some lemon in there. So I actually zested a lemon, and I put that in as well, and a little bit of honey. Now I was lucky enough I had some rosemary honey on hand, so that went in there. Plain honey would work just fine. Really, like I said, anything you want to do is fine. But you take that and you put it up underneath the skin. So once you've got that up underneath the skin, rub it all over, turn it back over, and then put a tiny bit of oil on the outside, but not much, just a little bit of olive oil. And that's going to hold the spices. At that point, you want to put on a rub of some kind. I actually use this rub. This is one of ours. This is Mac Brothers. It's our Butter My Butt and Call Me a Biscuit rub, which is for specifically pork and poultry, although it's good on a number of things. So you apply that liberally, let it sit for about an hour, and then you're ready to do what I'm doing right now. So I just need to keep an eye on this because it's already been in there for a couple of minutes. Let's take a look at it again. And there we go. It's getting nice and brown. So I'm going to let that go on this side for about a minute or so, not very long. I just want to get those juices flowing in there. I'm going to grab a plate, step off camera for a second. You need to have all of this ready to go. It'll make things a lot easier for you if you're ready to go with everything. So I'm going to put this on the plate and just set it aside for a couple of minutes. Next thing I'm going to do is add some butter to that and let that melt. Now I've got all of this from the chicken in there. This is going to just add to the flavor of what we do after we throw it in the oven. So I'm going to let this melt. And then I'm going to throw in some onions. And again, do this however you feel like. This is just the way that I do it, and we found that we really like it. I'm going to let those onions cook for about 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes maybe. I just want them to get to the point where they're starting to get a little bit translucent. They don't have to be really done. Okay, so now we're ready to go. The onions are about done. I'm going to take some very thinly sliced garlic, plop that in there. Let that cook, for maybe a minute, not much longer than that. You don't want the garlic to burn, and it will burn easily. So you just want to let that go for maybe a minute. Okay, the garlic's ready to go. So next thing I want to do is I have about half of a cup of white wine here. So I'm going to pour that in. Let it sizzle. Get all of those droppings off of the bottom of the pan. That's going to add to the flavor. Now I'm not really reducing it. A lot of times you'll see people reducing the wine, and I do too. Actually, most of the time I do. But in this particular instance, I'm not. So I'll let that sit in there. Then I'm going to take half of a cup of chicken broth and pour that in. Stir that around. I have a can of diced tomatoes. Now this particular one is fire roasted, diced, it's got garlic in it. Use whatever you like. But I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. Stir that around. Try not to make a mess while I'm doing it. I'm going to turn the heat up. Just get it going a little bit more. And the other thing that I'm going to do, just because I happen to have it left over, certainly not necessary, is a little bit of rosemary. I'm going to sprinkle that in there. Mix that up. And then because we really like rosemary, have a couple of sprigs. Stick those there as well. And I'm going to let this start boiling. Now that that's boiling, what I'm going to do is put the chicken in there. Just lay it on top. Flatten it back out again. I'm going to put the juices from the chicken that were on the plate. Put those back in there. Probably work a little better with this. Get some of that flavor and put it back in there. We don't want to waste it on that plate and wash it away. Then going to take 2 lemons that have been sliced in half and put them in there. It's going to add some flavor to it. And finally, so that I know when it's done, I'm not guessing, I have a remote thermometer. I'm going to put it in here and stick it deep into the breast, either the breast or the thigh. In this case, I'm just using the breast because it's easier to get to. That's really it. I'll turn the heat off, and then I'm going to put it into the oven. Now, the oven is already heated to 350, so I'm going to put it in there. It'll take probably about 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes to get up to 160 degrees. Once it hits 160 degrees, you're good to go. So we'll come back and you can see the finished product in just a moment. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes now that it's been in the oven. And really you don't want to use time as a guide, you want to use temperature. So as I mentioned before, there actually is a remote thermometer in there, and it told me that it's about 155, 156 right now. And I know that by resting for 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to come up to over 160, so it'll be ready. Let's see what it looks like. Hot enough in there, steamed up my glasses. Now it's going to be a little dark on top, and that's from the sugars that are in the rub. So they're going to make it taste amazing, but they do make it look a little bit dark. And what we'll do is let it rest for a couple of minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like when you cut into it. Okay, I let the chicken rest for about 5 minutes. It's now out, sitting here ready to be carved. It smells truly amazing in here. I can't tell you how much I wish this were smell-o-vision. And then this is all of the juices over here. And what you can do is thicken those if you like. You can see they're a little bit thick just from all of the things that were in there. But the juice part is a little thin. So certainly if you wanted that thicker, you could. One of the things that I like to do is thicken it just a tad. And you can put it over mashed potatoes, whatever it is you may want. The other thing that I want to do, if it isn't too hot, and it is take the lemons and just squeeze some of that juice right over the top of the chicken. So just a little bit of final flavor in there. And then once you do that, you are ready to carve it. So I'll show you a final, once everything's carved and ready to go, in just a moment. Now here is the chicken once it's been all carved up into pieces. Certainly if I wanted to, I could separate the wing from the thigh on both of those. Excuse me, the leg from the thigh on both of those. And we have very large breasts, which I'm going to slice. You can see the steam still rising, so it's still hot. It's incredibly juicy and moist. Okay, it smells absolutely incredible. Again, wish you could be here, wish they invented smell-o-vision, which they'll probably do after I die. I'm sure at some point in time, you'll be able to do that. But in the meantime, I want to taste it. So it is just, there is so much moisture in there. It's unbelievable. The flavor is there. Let's see what it tastes like. That is the breast, which is generally very dry. It is literally melting in my mouth. It is so tender. That's a combination of both the brining, which will make your chicken much, much more tender and moist, and the method of cooking. So if you decide you want to spatchcock a chicken, again, this is just one way to do it. Do something similar out on the grill. However you decide to do it, it's a great thing to try. Thank you.